What I'm about to share with you isn't all that exciting. It's not going to give you a dopamine rush, and it's probably not going to impress everyone. But if you do this, it's going to change the way you experience everything in your life. If you're looking for an instant breakthrough, just click away now. This video is not for you. It might not be super dramatic or anything like that, but it's a simple energy-based philosophy and approach that you can use for the rest of your life. So if you are tired of repeating the same thoughts, the same failures, the same regrets, the same heartaches, then stick around. What I'm teaching you can change your life. This is how you get your life back. Now, most people avoid this work because it doesn't look very productive, even though it is. It doesn't give you some rush. And to be honest, no one can see you doing it. But this is how you can end your suffering, take back control of your future, stop fighting yourself, all without forcing anything. And it may look and sound boring, but it's the most effective long-term tool that I have found. Hey guys, my name is Andre. I've been on my self-improvement journey for years, and I tried all of the things, I read all of the books, and eventually I found my own way that was more effective than anything else. This is what I start to teach people. This is what I teach my clients. I coach my friends through this, and I'm starting to share my philosophies and the tactics here with you on YouTube. So please give this video a like, and let's dive in. Boom. Okay, so here's what happens. We have almost a clean slate when we're born. So this x-axis is going to be time, and I'm going to draw a couple different things on the y-axis. So basically, when you're born, you are basically the most you possible, right? No one's conditioned you yet. No one's told you who to be, how to be. You're perfect, right? You're a bundle of joy coming out of the womb, right? And so we start with a high level of being ourselves. That's going to be the black line. And so we start with a very high level of that. And conversely, we're going to start with a very low level of conditioning. So conditioning, programming, right, whatever you want to call it. We start with a high level of being ourselves and a low level of conditioning. So over time, we do get conditioned, right? And maybe it starts out slow, but eventually it's going to ramp up. And as this ramps up, and this ramps up because of society, school, friends, teachers, coaches, parents, aunts and uncles, family members, siblings, whatever the things are, right? Whoever influences us in our life. So we have an increased amount of conditioning as time goes on, right? As the years go on in our life. As that happens, on the opposite side, we start to become less and less of ourselves. Wow, it straightened it out to a perfect line. Don't need that. Okay, so we become less and less of ourselves over time. This is where a lot of us stay. A lot of us get stuck. So here's what we don't want. What we don't want to happen is we flatline, right? We don't want to stay. We don't want to stay stuck at this point, at these levels going forward, right? Let's say this is like 25 years old ish, right? Let's say somewhere around there. It could be less. It could happen in your teenage years. It could happen in your 30s or your early 20s. But let's say around this time, you have started to no longer be yourself because you have become conditioned and programmed. This is where a lot of us are stuck. This is why we feel stuck, because we don't feel like we're being ourselves. We're not living lives that are aligned with who we are. The life that we've chosen and the way we're deciding things, the way we're acting in life, isn't going towards the future that we want to create. Because it's not going to the future we want to create, we feel this dissonance. There's this huge gap between where we are and who we want to be. And we question ourselves, how do I get there, right? This is a big reason why. So what can happen is, or what you want to start doing is, we want to obviously erase any line that is limiting us. So we're going to do that. And we want to start to bring this line down. We want to start bringing our conditioning down like this, right? And as you do that, you also have to learn how to be yourself, because you could remove some of your conditioning and your programming, but if you're not adding in the new way, you're not adding in your new identity, if you're not making those decisions of who you want to be, yes, you could remove the conditioning and programming, but you could still be a flat line of being yourself. And so there needs to be a conscious effort to bring the being ourselves line back up as well. So they are definitely correlated and related, and we need to do work in order to do that. So how do we actually do this, right? What are we actually going to do here in order to actually do this work? So the line under, let's see, how do I want to do this? The area basically under the curve, all of this is basically trapped energy in the body. In the bod. Trapped energy in the body. That's what all of this is. It accumulates over time. And as it accumulates over time, your body functions less and less of the level of your soul, of who you actually are, which is the being ourselves line, the black line. So all this energy gets trapped in our body. And so we need to start to remove it. We need to pull it out. And that is the key. And this is the part that doesn't sound very sexy, doesn't sound super exciting, probably looks pretty boring, looks a lot like sitting, meditating, doing your own inner work processes, going and hiring a coach. I teach people this, or going and receiving work in person with something like network spinal or pranic healing. That stuff is super fascinating to me. That is what you can do to start pulling the trapped energy from the body. There is a video I have here called Simple Exercise to Build the Mind-Body Connection. Find it on my YouTube channel. It's one of the most simple exercises to start learning how to do this work. You have to build the mind-body connection first, right? So first step, build the mind-body connection. And whoops. And I have a video for how you can do that on my YouTube channel. So, might sound crazy, might sound weird. Once you start experiencing this, it makes all the sense in the world. So this is trapped energy in the body, aka bound energy. As you release the bound energy, you start to come down this side, right? You start to come on the down slope of your conditioning. Although that doesn't necessarily start pulling the black line farther up. So to pull the black line farther up, in order to do, let's see, I'm going to do slashes this way. In order to fill this space, to fill this, you want to start working, instead of with the bound energy, you want to use the unbound energy. And this is stuff like manifesting, vibrating at higher frequencies, or vibrations, pulling in those aspects of you that you forgot about way back here. Whoops. Right? Way back here, we forgot. how we used to feel back here. I believe everyone has an energetic signature, a vibration, a frequency that when you were young, it was your default, it was your normal. I'm slowly getting back to that place where I'm like, dude, I used to feel like this when I was in elementary school. I used to have this feeling when I was in middle school, when I didn't have all the bound energy in my body yet, right? So you want to start to release the bound energy. And as you do that, you start to tap into and call in and connect and interact with the unbound energy. And that is how you fill the being ourselves line, because this is really your soul level here that we're talking about. And this conditioning and this programming, a lot of this is society, right? Society, let's not cross out my words. Society, your relationships, your family, your environment growing up, your enmeshment with others, like all these things that kind of bring you down away from your soul, your mission, your purpose, who you actually are at such a core level, right? And so as you start to release the bound and connect and call in the unbound, that is where you start to increase this side here. And so many people get stuck. Don't get stuck. A lot of people get stuck. So as you do this, get. My handwriting is so on point today, guys. All right. So another aspect of this I want to explain because I think it's really interesting is as you do the work to release the bound energy, I'm going to write this here in red, bound. The bound energy is basically, let me go one step thicker, is basically like negative emotions. Negative emotions, stress. That's not how you spell tension. Tension, trauma, for lack of a better word, all of this stuff. So the work to work with the to work with the bound energy and let it go looks like letting go of these things: the negative emotions, the stress, the tension, trapped memories. There's a lot of things that can fill this list. And so, as you start to learn how to release the bound energy, not only are you doing a damage control, you're also keeping yourself from having more bound energy put into the system at the same time. And I'm going to draw what I mean by that. So, we're going to have another chart here. And let's say the average person goes through life, with some ups and some downs, some big ups, some downs, up, down, something like this. And their average line is something like that, right? If you want to be above average, if you want to have a life of excellence, if you want to not succumb to mediocrity and living the same way everyone else does, if you want to actually be happy and live a more life true to yourself, achieving success and excellence that you know you're capable for, that's not what you want your life to look like. We don't want this. This is average. Mediocrity. I don't know why I crossed my D right there. There we go. Mediocrity. I probably spelled that wrong. Anyway, so let's keep going. What do we want instead? We want a life that looks like this. Okay, Alexa. We want a life that looks like this. And again, okay, this is time. And this is, let's just say, emotional, or let's just say level of, I'm going to put success in quotes. It's just your overall level of joy and success and, progress. I think progress is a good one too. Um, Basically, what this shows is you are on average progressing upwards, but there are ups and downs along the way. And so what happens is as you learn to release the bound energy, this dip right here, for example, could have just stopped here and turned around. And then this dip here could have stopped here and turned around. And then you had this up, right? This up was still going to happen. And then like this dip here would have just been a smaller one. And so you learn to not let the bound energy, the things that cause the bound energy, the negative emotions, the stress, the tension, the trauma, the trapped memories, whatever it is that we're doing internally that is causing this to happen. It happens on the dips. As you start to learn the process, which I mentioned before, did I write it down? Building the mind-body connection, stuff like the energy work that I mentioned, like the pranic healing, network spinal, or the internal process. I teach people. I call it mind works. It's not meditation. It's different. It's productive. I don't think most meditations are productive. Mind works is productive. Anyway, tactic aside, this is what happens. This is what your curve starts to look like. You smooth it out because your dips are so much smaller, right? Look at the size of, did it change my thing? No. The size of your dips here compared to the size of these, you can barely see what I'm drawing anymore, right? Let's go back to red, right? This dip, these dips on average are smaller. They're all roughly the same size compared to this one, right? And this one here, huge. This dip here, right? Right here, that's actually not too bad. And then this one here, boom, huge dip, right? I can think of my life over the past decade, the past 2 decades, where I was up and down and up and down and up and down. And this could have been things like, let's see, I'm going to erase some of this stuff here just to make some space, right? Okay, there we go. So this could have been something like, let's go this way. This could have been like a heartbreak. Okay, definitely was for me. I've been heartbroken plenty of times in the past. This was this could have been another heartbreak, or it could have been some business or work failure. Business failure, right? It could have been family drama, right? And maybe this here, you know, let's say when you were younger, it was like getting picked on. Getting picked on. Or bullied. You know, bullying still happens even as adults. So if you learn to smooth out these curves, then this is not what your life is going to look like. As you learn to smooth out these curves, you really come down to this level down here, which is way better, where everything is smoothed out. And your progression continues to be onwards and upwards because you're striving for a level of success, and you continue to move upwards because you've learned to, this is the key point, you've learned to reduce the downs. That's what it's all about. As you learn to reduce the downs, you don't hold on to stress anymore. You don't allow yourself to be conditioned by others. You follow your soul path, and maybe you do the unbound, the bound work first to release that, and then connect with the unbound to connect more to your soul, right? There's kind of a damage control side and then an optimization side. So you do the healing and the unbinding, the unwinding, and then you connect with the optimizing and the progression. It's all forward movement. It's all progression, but you kind of shift from the bound to the unbound, if that makes sense. So you learn to reduce the downs, and that is how you take control of your future. That is how you create a life that no one can affect you, no one can touch you, no one can put you down and put you in a place where you're now playing the victim role because you've learned whatever skill, you're doing what you need to do in order to keep these drops as small as possible. And they're going to happen. Of course, they're going to happen, right? Life is ups and downs. If you can learn to lean into them in the right way so that you smooth them out and they don't pull you down, they don't drag you down, you're reducing the amplitude of the drop. And so you're going to turn around, you're going to recover a lot faster. This is what resilience is. This is resilience. Okay. Resilience is the ability to get knocked down and come back up faster, come back up higher than you were before. Right. This is why, where is it? Resilience. It's on my poster, right? This is why resilience is so important because this is what it is. It keeps you moving upwards, onwards, and upwards the whole time. And the way you do that is you learn to reduce the downs. And the way you do that, I mentioned it before, I'll write it again here. Things like, my MindWorks process. This teaches you things you can do yourself. Network Spinal is done by chiropractors. Pranic healing, super interesting. I've been receiving more of this. I think it's fascinating. Some new work is coming out called somatic energy work. I'm learning this also, this modality. I think it's fascinating. All these types of things fall under the category of energy work, but they are what I would call practical. It's practical energy work because it's not just a high level woo woo thing that they hope you get. I think a lot of energy work out there is geared towards trying to get you to connect to the unbound energy when you haven't worked with and released the bound energy yet. So you want to first work with the bound energy. And that is what I think most modalities miss. And then later work the unbound. And later start with the bound. And if you do it right, if you have the right tools, the right process, you should feel progress almost right away, within a week, within like a couple weeks. That's what my clients experience. That is at least what I teach with my MindWorks process. Some of these other ones are really interesting. These are basically, you would go to somebody to receive these modalities. So let's recover. Let's recap what we've done so far. We have, come back to my yellow pen. We have this graph where we have time on the x-axis, and as we are born, we are the most ourselves that we've ever been, and that slowly decreases with time. Because our conditioning, which is the lowest when we're born, starts to increase with time. Now, some of us are born with traumas. There is, birth trauma, and like the nervous system of your mom when she was pregnant with you can affect your nervous system. Like a lot of the people that do these modalities here, network spinal, pranic healing, somatic energy, they work on babies. And it's so fascinating and it's so impactful because you're starting at such a young age. So anyway, you get conditioned over time, you become less of yourself and you become conditioned. We do not want to stay stuck at this level here. We don't want that. What we do want is to turn around and start becoming more of ourselves. We do that by unconditioning ourselves, by bringing down the slope of the green line. And the way we do that is we work with releasing the trapped energy in the body, which is the bound energy. We do that first, and then we connect with the unbound energy afterwards to pick up the other side. And the first step to doing that is building the mind body connection. I have a video on my YouTube. Go find it. Please watch it, use it. The bound energy is built from negative emotions, stress, tension, trauma, and trapped memories. And if you don't do this, then all of these red lines, these red drops, are going to keep getting, not necessarily get larger and larger, because you will start to numb out and just feel less. You can numb yourself out with alcohol, drugs. People do this all the time. But this is an average and mediocre life full of family drama and heartbreak and failures and resentments and regrets and grudges, because you don't learn how to let go of the bound energy from getting picked on, having a relationship that didn't go your way, and so on and so on. As you do the work, as you learn the modalities, as you lean into this approach and just this overall philosophy, your level of success and your overall level of progress is going to increase because you've learned how to not let these drops get so big. You've learned to bounce back faster because you know what to do. You're increasing your resilience, and therefore your trajectory stays more onwards and upwards than anyone else that you know, because you know the tools, you know what to do because you chose to learn them. You've learned to reduce the downs. Come on, Ben. You've learned to reduce the downs and save, and so your ups have more impact over time. You're compounding your ups, you're compounding your successes because you're not having these big drawdowns, to use a trading terminology. And again, these are some of the modalities. I teach mind works. I'm learning somatic energy work. Pranic healing is fascinating. Network spinal, absolutely mind blowing. It's amazing stuff. All of this I would put under a category called practical energy work. And again, you start with the bound energy and later connect with the unbound. So I hope this helps, guys. I know it's a lot. I know it could be confusing. It might sound crazy and woo, but I'll tell you what, every successful person on the elites do have some level of woo that they lean into because they understand the power of it. If you want to learn more about the kind of progression of this and the different levels along the way, go ahead and watch this video right here, where I break down the 7 levels of mind body healing, which is more detailed on how this all works.